Try to focus, Dean said around a mouthful of snacks. Feel the primordial world and bend it to your will. Like bending a lovely elf girl you just met over. That's more distracting than helpful, Dean, I sighed, cracking an eye open at my old friend. He tipped his bag of toasted snacks into his mouth, guzzling them down like they were water. Crumbs washed over his cheeks and made a small pile on the ground before he emptied the bag and dropped it with a mound of others right next to him. Ever since he discovered the Hearthwood had reinvented junk food snacks, he'd filled a bag of holding every time he walked through my city. I admit cultivation is more a natural thing for me. It's tough to put into words, Dean shrugged. I'm not the kind of cultivator who sits cross-legged and explains what he thinks and feels. I just feel what I can do and get it done. That's how I learned space magic. From what I hear, you have primordial aspects to your zeal already, so there's no reason you shouldn't be able to touch on the same thing. I'd already touched on the primordial aspect of identity. It was one of the powers that had helped me defeat the Time Weaver Queen the last time I'd been in the primordial world, when I went to save Sam and Dean from a horrible fate at the hands of those skin-stealing monsters. Now, their cavern in the distant past was nothing more than an irradiated crater. We'd blown it up with a nuclear bomb. Unfortunately, because time travel always makes a mess, I still had to guard against the spiders even though we'd killed them all. Thankfully, their time and ours weren't entirely unlinked. There was just enough linearity to the connection that I was hopeful I'd never see another Time Weaver again. But if I did, I wanted to hone the power that had been so useful against their queen the last time we'd fought. To that end, I'd recruited Sam and Dean's help. They were old friends of mine, and had been happy to lend a hand. The only trouble came when Anya the Seer, one of Sam's old loves, came off to take him home again. After that, I was certain the two of them had a lot of catching up to do. That left Dean to help me on his own. While Dean was lots of fun out on the town, and plenty handy in a fight, he was a lot less helpful than Sam when it came to practicing cultivation. Be one with the rock, Theo, Dean whispered directly into my ear as I held a stone in my hands. The stone was the object of my current experiment. The Time Weaver Queen, who'd mastered the same ability, had been able to transmute one substance into another through mere force of will and the power of identity zeal. After weeks of work, I was fairly certain I'd figured out what that was and what it meant. I should have been able to replicate her ability on my own. Only try as I might, it wasn't working. Run your hands up the stone's body, feeling every curve. Squeeze and knead it between your fingers. Taste the salt on its surface and imagine what it would be like to brush your lips against it. I cracked an eye open. I'm thinking your subconscious is telling you to return to the palace. Thank you for your help so far, Dean. Dean sighed and rolled off the boulder he'd been using as a seat, a couch, a bed, and a curling iron, while I meditated in the primordial world.